Hello, I wanted to give you an overview of quantum GIS and in this intro to GIS. Essentially explain some of the key elements of the user interface. So I'm just going to use some data from one of my other classes. So let's go ahead and open quantum GIS, which you can do by searching for QGIS on your computer system, and we'll go ahead and open it. You can see I have version 3.4. So it opens and it has some memory of recent projects I've opened. I'm going to go ahead and start with a new project, which is going to clear that out so we have a fresh new project. Now what I want to go over with you today is some of the key elements of a GIS, which is a Geographic Information System, through the interface of quantum GIS. So the first thing to notice is this big blank area here. Now it's the primary part of the screen because it's the map. It's where the map data would be. So let's go ahead and add some data. So I'm going to go ahead and unzip this data here. See, it's zipped. Now you may have file extensions turned off. You may not see the .zip, but it'll say it's a compressed zip file. You don't want to try to add that zip file to quantum GIS. You want to unzip that. So through something like extract works. You could also use some other zip tool. So I just unzip that into a subfolder here. So you can see, oh, okay, this has bikes, counties, facilities, parks. So how do I get that into quantum GIS? Well, you can go through the browser here. That's kind of a long way to get to it, but it's the most direct, I would say. So I'm in, you can see I'm in this PhD teaching GIS programming data module 4 data mod 9. So it's kind of down there. You know, I can get to it this way. GIS programming 2018 data, is it mod 9? So here we are. You can see, let's go back over here. Module 4, my apologies. I'm in the wrong module. Module 4, data, wrong folder. So now you can see there's that folder from the zip file that I created by unzipping it. So you can see that data is in there. The bikes, counties, county facilities. And so we can just, you could click add layer to project and that'll put the county on there. Alternatively, I'm going to go ahead and remove this so you can see other ways to add it. Remove layer. We can just drag it into there. You see how I just drug that from the browser? So the browser in ArcGIS is also called catalog. This ability to browse from within GIS to the file system on your computer becomes very useful. Now let's suppose the browser for some reason isn't showing up on your screen. Maybe it got closed, maybe it wasn't there, maybe you dragged it off the screen. Like I actually just closed it by clicking the X. Now it's gone. So we can go, okay, where's the browser? Well, pretty much any panel on here, these are called kind of like panels. You know, the map panel, the layer order panel, the layers panel. There's a bunch, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 panels going on here. Or 5 panels. 3 over here, 1, 2. Which is just the processing toolbox. But we're like, where did our browser panel go? So you could go back over here and go to panels and turn that back on. Okay. It didn't activate. Panels, browser, there it is. Okay, so it showed up under the layer order. I'm going to go ahead and close the layer order panel so you can see that. So again, let me walk through that one more time because I think this is kind of something that can get people stuck. I accidentally closed a panel. Let's do the layers. And then you go to View, Panels, Layers. It's back. Okay, that brings me to my next topic. Another very important panel in GIS in general is the Layers panel. I'm going to go ahead and close the Statistics panel for now and get down to like the three main panels I think you need to start out with, which are the browser, the layers, and the map panel. So layers is really important. Here's why. I'm going to show you. I'm going to add a couple more shape files or feature classes to the map and to the project. So I'm going to add facilities. Okay, we got facilities. Those are points. And then maybe we could add parks. So those are also polygons over the tops. This is a county in Texas, by the way, but that's not so important at this point. I'm just wanting to show you that now that I've added those to the map, they show up in layers. Now, if for some reason I added parks and facilities first and counties was on top, do you notice now we can't see the parks and facilities because they're covered up by the big polygon of the county. Now that has to do with something called the layer drawing order. So whatever's on top is on top of the map. Think of GIS as a series of layers of data, geographic data that gets put on top of each other, and whatever's on top is going to cover the things on the bottom. So there's two ways you can handle that, which gets me into a quick next topic for you, which is styling. So we could just go, okay, well, I want to be able to see the other smaller features, which are like parks and facilities, and just put those on top of the county. That's kind of the simplest way. But interesting thing to notice is like, oh, every time I add new data, new geographic data to the map, it just automatically colors it whatever color it wants to, whatever the GIS randomly assigns. You know, facilities are green, parks are purple, county was brown. Okay, that's okay. But we have a lot of control in GIS. That's why there's seemingly too many buttons and bells and whistles. It's a little overwhelming at first. But if you just start with these three panels, you'll see, hopefully, how to like begin to wade into this deep water of the user interface here. The power of the layers panel, coming back to this, is that we can control the layer properties from within here. So there's a couple different ways. When I say layer properties, it's just the properties of the individual data set that represents that geographic feature. So let's start with county. So I could right click it and go to properties. That's one way to get to properties. Or I could double click it. Now you can't really see that I'm double clicking it, but I'm just double clicking on the word county in the layers panel, and then it comes up, defaults to the symbology tab, which is kind of a standard because often we want to adjust the symbology on it. And so let me show you just real quick how to do that. I don't like the brown, so maybe I want to go with gray. And so I just changed the color to gray and I hit apply. Okay. Or you could choose one of these default styles down here. Like here's gray fill, get that. Kind of a light gray. That's kind of nice. I like that one. Some people prefer transparent even, which you could do, and you can adjust the opacity. So let's take a look at another one of these layers we might want to do some other kind of adjustments on. Let's look at the parks layer. I'm going to double click again on that, or you can right click and go to properties. And you may want to label your park. So, you know, again, it defaults to symbology, but here in the layer properties, you have a lot of control over what that layer looks like and how it renders on in the GIS. So you see this labels. This is, by default, there's no labels on. But if we go ahead and say, oh, we want single labels, it's going to say, oh, okay, how do you want to label it? What do you want to base the labels on? You know, we could say, okay, well, there are different values, we call them attributes, associated with parks that are in the data of that geographic feature. One is park names. You can kind of see the different ones. You have park type, park ID, a couple different geographic-y kind of attributes. But I'm going to just go with park name. That's kind of the most obvious one. And hit apply. And then you could see, you can go ahead and zoom in or move this over so you can see, okay, there's some park names. And then you have a lot of control over even what that looks like. You know, like if you're like, okay, that's a bit big, the size, you can decrease the size to like 6. And so now, okay, the labels are smaller. And we hit OK. You can change the color. You can do a lot with this. But you see how everything I'm doing over here on the layer properties is adjusting what it looks like on the map. And then, you know, if I'm over here in the map, I can zoom around. And, you know, this is kind of the key feature of the GIS is the map. But to be able to like get to the data and adjust the properties of the features is really important too. So this is kind of an intro to just the user interface. There's a lot more to it, but this is just getting you in there, getting the data in there and kind of styling it. So hopefully that helps.